That was pretty cool. Well, you know, if Nancy had any nerves tonight, we just wanted to break them by making her put those socks on. What did she say? Psalm 100. Make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come into his presence with singing. Know that the Lord is God. It is he that made us, and we are his. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him. Bless his name. For the Lord is good. His steadfast love endures forever, and his faithfulness to all generations. As Pastor Chris told you, I started worshiping here in the fall, right around the time she started talking about Psalm 100 and this exuberant community. Now, I apologize to anyone who came up with that idea, but it did nothing for me. It just wasn't something that I could rally around. So if you know anything about me, some of you who've been in Bible study, I tend to analyze things a lot and occasionally overanalyze them, I guess. So I had to figure out what exuberant meant. And the reason I realized I did not like it is because it just wasn't a part of my vocabulary. Never have I used it to describe myself or anyone or anything. And I found out I wasn't the only one that has never used it. Guess what? Not once in Scripture did I find exuberant. Searched all of it on my iPad. And not once did I see exuberant. So I'm thinking, hey, if Jesus isn't going to be exuberant, hey, I'm off the hook. But you know, I'm not going to let it go that easy. So I Googled it. And exuberant, I find out, comes from the Middle French, exuberant, which is a present active participle, I wasn't good at grammar, of exubero, be abundant. Put together from ex, which means out, and uber, which means utter. And originally, this would have referred to either a cow or a she-goat, which was making so much milk that it naturally dripped and sprayed from her udder. Yeah, that was a good one. But you know, just below that etymology, I found a modern day definition of the word. There it was, and it was glorious. Popped right out with me. Exuberant means joyously unrestrained. Joyously unrestrained. That was perfect. I could sure get wrapped around that word. But I couldn't leave it. I started to think about when was there a time in my life when I was joyously unrestrained? And it came to me almost immediately. You saw some of the pictures when you came in tonight. My joyously unrestrained memory was when I worked with Lutheran Episcopal Disaster Relief on the Mississippi Gulf Coast just after the 174 mile per hour winds of Katrina left a wake of unbelievable destruction across the southern United States. From the first images that I saw on TV, I knew I had to go. They were just heartbreaking. So I was living in Atlanta at the time, and a group of Lutherans from the Atlanta area decided they were going. to go with them. We were part of the very first wave of people. If you remember, there was a time period that they would let no one come down there. You know, people wanted to go and help, but they wouldn't let anybody because there would have been a lot of looting and all that. So the National Guard had to get things kind of situated before people could do that. But when I got there, I was not ready for the devastation, which was just overwhelming. The entire coastline from South Alabama to South Texas was gone, completely destroyed. A few things were still standing, but most buildings and most houses for about a mile off of the Gulf were gone. Completely wiped out. Cars were randomly everywhere. And people's belongings were strewn across all the land. Even today, I kind of get sick thinking about it. But it was there in that midst of just utter destruction that I came to know unrestrained joy. I was there 10 days in the midst of a hot September heat, 100 plus. Hurricane Rita came through while we were down there, right after that. We were unloading trucks, picking up trash, mucking out of moldy houses, helping people get the basic needs of food and clothing and shelter met. And we listened. Just listened to their stories, which they just needed to get out. It was there I experienced unrestrained joy. So much so that I did not want to leave when my 10 days came up. And I returned 8 times that year, that first year. I just couldn't stay away. For me, the Mississippi Gulf Coast was Holy Land. I think many of us went there on some level thinking we were going to save the day, but those thoughts quickly left. I arrived there with pity and left with humility. I thought I was going to save the world, and the world saved me. In that vast nothingness, I found everything. I found life. You know, in Psalm 100, we're told, know that the Lord is God. It is He that made us, and we are His. We are His people and the sheep of His pasture. In that year of back and forth to the Gulf Coast, you know, God really started stirring things up for me.